All right. So thank you for joining us on this beautiful Monday morning. We're here for our Good of the Whole Global Heart Resonance call. And I just realized why it's not working because I don't have my camera up. But this is perfect. We'll hold this for today. So in the light of love, in the light of laughter, let's begin our call with this focus on goodness, and that in this moment we are whole. We're whole beings here to serve the greater whole. And let's just start out in this swing inside this liminal space connected to our heart. And simply doing a scan of our bodies, noticing any tensions, and really choosing to let go of mass consciousness as we come here, even timing that we are just beings of the light, beings of love, listening to the emergent field, in our return to wholeness, in our understanding that this is a frequency, that we are that source light energy, and from that innate inherent place, this even idea of goodness is our natural place of being. This desire to serve others, this desire, this innate heart's desire to fully be a representative, fully be present, and show up in this exalted, noble place. And we call it love. And to just rest in that as we begin our call here this morning. It's always starting from this place of connection and allowing that sensate experience to expand out to even those family members that we may be having trouble with, to our community, to those ones around us that might not be of the same opinion of us that we have. I'm beginning today with this choice to love more. And feeling that energy connect in this. I love Linda's been bringing this piece in around just being the threads, being part of that beautiful fabric of life's expression, living for the good of the whole. And very gently just coming back, being present. Welcome Karen and Nancy and those of you that are joining us, watching this replay. So our reflection today is goodness, pure and simple, that gift by Henry. And John's going to read the reflection. And because we're all here, we all understand how this works. Just the invitation again is just to speak whatever, 1 to 2 minutes, and allow this convergence to happen within the collective here. Allow us to build that sense of coherence, allowing those pauses in between to be those spaces that allow that full integration of the experience of wholeness, this advocacy for living a whole worldview, understanding ourselves in this experience of whole systems health, bringing ourselves back to that. So with that, pass it over to you, John, and we'll open our call.
Excuse me. Actually, I am open to reading the reflection. life. And kind of an interesting point. I was at a workshop on the weekend, and the quote is by a Bulgarian master, Beinsa Duono, and a woman who was there was from originally her family is from Bulgaria, and so she was familiar with Beinsa's work. So just wanted to share that. When you do good to someone, this good applies to all the world. It makes no difference to the divine world whether people know this or not. It is true, nevertheless, that all will profit from this good. An act of goodness or kindness aligns one's heart with the love of the universe. That love producing act reverberates throughout all of life and all of humanity. Even the smallest act of love provides goodness and does not escape notice of all guides, unseen and unseen. Such an act of goodness is a confirmation and an affirmation of the love one holds in one's heart and increases the flow of love from source for the good of the whole. As we share the love in our hearts through our thoughts, our words, our actions, we offer an act of goodness for all life and become eternally and infinitely joined with the source of all life. So a little reflection or inquiry, how do you sense goodness within you and around you? And how do you cultivate goodness in your heart? So I place the talking stick into the center of our circle of our gathering. Thank you.
Good morning, all. This is Cassandra. I'm immediately struck by the perhaps hundreds of thousands of loving acts of goodwill that we all perform on a spontaneous basis. And I'm clear for myself that our intentionality about that is what strengthens the resonant field. And that the more that we share these ideas with others, the more that we automatically cultivate loving goodwill as an operative emotion and focus in our own lives. This morning, I realized that when I'm in the moment, I am whole, irregardless of what is going on around me. And Shelley and I were speaking, and this spontaneously came forth. So I think that when we're in that wholeness of ourselves, allowing our divinity and our personality to cultivate that, all those aspects of who we are, when we work with that, We're very effective. And it's not about how many people we reach, but that we are like a little beacon, each unto ourselves, sending out into the universal flow energy that it can pick up and use and recenter, recalibrate, recultivate. So, with that thought, I am complete. I just wanted to add that. Thank you. I return the crystalline talking stick that I didn't pick up in the first place. I'm not really good about that. So I know you love me as I am.
It's beautiful what I'm hearing. It's just, it's like everything was said. There is nothing else. There is nothing else to be said. What I heard and what is magnifying in this space here is the good for the whole. I really don't know, I've been saying that, what is good for you. I have no clue what is good for you in the uniqueness that we are. The good for me is that I stay truthful to my own heart in whatever expression. I'm hearing that we are the life, light, force, energy. We are the source. But still, what we're talking about is not coming from that place. The divine indifference, who cares how it's going to be received? What I love about what you said is when I bring my intentionality, because I'm doing it all the time, I'm co-creating all the time. But when I bring the intentionality into that, it's like a laser. I am claiming my own source of being, and I'm offering it, I'm expressing that, I'm that embodiment. And in that, whatever happens, that is for the good of the whole. So sometimes I feel I am stuck in this place. Because I see the self as the whole. Nothing needs to be done out there. Everything, when it's being true to the flow of what is being received and experienced, it is contribution to the whole. Because I am. That's where I connect with that. I'm putting the talking stick that I didn't become in the middle as well.
This is Shelley, and what's moving for me is the word conscious and consciousness and consciously choosing. When I, when I'm as I'm listening and as I'm experiencing my own life, there is this, yes, there's this innate goodness, and at the same time, I feel like this understanding of consciously choosing, of consciously meeting my own resistances, of consciously meeting my own old survival patterns. And that shifts the way that the expression of goodness from my innate wholeness to my actions on the outside. It really shifts how I affect another being, or how I affect, or how my circumstances affect me, which affects other beings. Because I don't know, I spent the entire day yesterday in the Apple store pretty much. And it was a really interesting experience, again, of deciding, consciously deciding who I be in that experience. And I think this is sort of the, we've been joking about keystone, or, this is sort of the key for, at least from my experience, in being an expression of goodness, because I might still be whole, and my experience tells me that I have the opportunity to show up in greater presence and greater love in every moment. And I can't say, I have to own that I haven't been that goodness all the time because of whatever limbic imprinting my experiences. So the beauty of what I'm hearing, and the feeling that wanted to come through was like, um, the choice to move, for me, I don't know what it is for each one of you, to move slow enough so that I can actually feel myself and feel where I'm coming from and how I affect others. And to really, and as being said, bring that love deeper inside, create that deeper intimacy inside myself, so that I can have that experience. And then to me, the goodness, it almost has well, it is a higher vibration of that goodness, but I can almost hear the melody. There's a song, there's a tone that goes along with that someone else's heart is feeling, and that's what I'm choosing, so I love you, and I'm loving this really transmutative experience of what we're calling, this goodness. What is it? Who are we within that? So thank you so much. Appreciating all of you.
Good morning, everyone. This is John. Oh, that's pretty easy to build on, actually. I feel at ease. I always ask a question, or I've been asked the question, or asked the question of others. Do you believe that the core energy of the universe is good? And for me, I'd say yes, it is. So, and what does good mean? Well, that's why good of the whole is so very important, because is this, as Shelley was just saying, are my actions sharing good, or is there some negative piece that I'm sending out? And so for me, I come to a choice point, because I don't like everything. In the moment, I'm not really happy with other people or political structures or local energies that are going on. And I feel that place inside of me where I want to resist that, or I want to speak out and say, well, I don't really like you in the moment, or I don't like what's going on here. But when I rest in that moment, I drop into that resonant field where the radiance of all diverse motions, actions, I've tried to the beauty and the goodness in a person that in the moment I'm finding very difficult to deal with. Now, one of the questions that was asked this morning is, what do you feel, or what happens inside of you when you're feeling that good? And that's the moment for me that I begin to feel good, when I find the beauty and the love of the resonant field in another person, even in the moment when I'm feeling disturbed by that person or by that political action or government or whatever it might be. But when I go inside and I rest for that moment in the resonant field, and I find that spark in that situation or that person that is the goodness of the universe through the resonant field, my whole demeanor changes. I open up and relax, and I say yes, that no matter what happens, I can find that outside because I feel that inside. And then I begin to see that it's only a reflection of who I am on the inside, my good self that is at the core, or some pattern or system or belief that I have acquired from somewhere else or built up for myself. And it's that incredible opportunity of letting go of my falsehood for my truthhood. And my truthhood is that I trust that everything, everybody, and me, resting in the resonant field, is for the good of the whole. And so that feels good, and it allows me to then provide actions that I trust are for the good and for the good of the whole. And now I'm complete and past whatever talking things never picked up. Thanks.
Good morning, all. This is Kate in South Dakota. I'll pick up the talking credit for a moment to try to, it feels so much like we're bringing about new words, redefining this new space that we find ourselves in, this universal love place, love, what a word that encompasses so much. So, what is love at the soul level? I know we have that Todd, that soulology, he says, to me. So how do I access my goodness? And especially on today, as I hear the words of Dr. King, I'm always so moved. Almost brings up that fire in your soul to, what is, and of course it's Women's March time. So, we're always in that. What is the sacred action that it brings to it brings most wholeness, and how do we access the goodness? And at the same time, I think about as is spoken, the innate goodness that is so prevalent. Everyone is doing something good, and I think about with all of the earthquakes and disasters, how people are coming to the aid of others, and then the doctors without borders and all of the medical programs that go on. That's just all about bringing more goodness to this world. And I think about those workers on the line and how difficult it is to just tap into the moment, to allow all of those distractions to assimilate. But of course we do the best we can, and how we are evolving in such, really there's a whole lot of goodness that seems to be at the forefront. And what else was I thinking? Well, I guess it was spoken. The moment when you feel that you're up against that divine indifference, I believe is the terminology, that it just doesn't, it hasn't been within my comfort zone. How do I love that? How do I, try to, anyway, I feel like we're in this exploration of this space of love. And I honor all of you and thank you for your beautiful expressions that you bring forth and elicit into this field. And thank you for listening, and I'll pass back.
This is Dina. Go, you go.
I'm noticing on the screen what is happening when Kate moves. It just is either disembodiment or it's light. Look at that. Either she's there or it's just the whole screen is full of light. You see that? Well,
Of course, I don't look at myself, so I don't know what the world's happening, but I know, this every year I do have my issues.
This is Dinama in Southern Oregon. And I'm hearing it's all good. And very much aware of the state of transformation we are experiencing wholeness. Wholeness is no separation, no good and bad. There's energetic, negative, positive charges. There's creation. There's conscious co-creation. And this is where we're all elated by being here together, this collective buzz. And recognizing that it's that frequency that I am creating into material experience, and loving how I am. Even if I'm scared or angry or confused or ecstatic, and this is the goodness I'm feeling called to be. I'm complete.
Wow.
Hi, this is Sharon in New Jersey. I'm resonating with the just the inherent this being in touch with ourselves prior to action. The inherent goodness. I mean, we feel that together. This vibration of love, and whether or not we take any action, if we're staying in that current and we're aware of it and we're honoring it and we're in gratitude, I feel like that is the goodness right there. And, you know, Kate was mentioning all of the different things people are doing that are acts of goodness, and they're so wonderful. And I like to look for those and know about them as opposed to all the bad news that's out there. And there's so much good news going on. And then it's a question of discernment in terms of what's my action to take in any moment, or to plan and to think about taking. And you can't do it all, that's for sure. You can just do your piece. And so that discernment is really key. And that starts with, again, being back and staying. The primary work is to stay centered, to stay in that vibration, so that that's what's coming forth in any situation. So it's with appreciation. I mean, I think that's the value of this gathering. It sets the tone. It amplifies the tone through our coming together and our sharing. And we give it to each other, and we take it from each other, and we just amplify and bring it forth. So with that, I'll pass it talking crystal feather. How's that? Back into the group.
Good morning, everyone. This is Karen in Costa Rica. I'll follow that thread with, yes, we know that we're in, and all the others that have been just wonderful. We are in transition time. We all knew this time was going to come, at least I know I did, and that things could look really horrible before they look better. But I do see it, you know, as long as we're in duality, for every horrible thing we're hearing about constantly, as Kate pointed out, there is something equal and opposite happening somewhere on the planet. We're just not hearing about them all. And it is all good, because this is what we need to go through to get to the other side. As people were talking, different things, universes remind me different things coming through. The last one with Sharon was, and Dinama, was to remember that as we see all these things going on that maybe at this moment don't look really wonderful to us, and maybe start stirring feelings that aren't the most positive, to remember to try to stay as neutral as possible. Look at all of these things as just information. This is what I was guided to do. It's just information. This is where we are at right now, and don't give it any energy, because if you give that the energy, we won't be able to create what we're here to create and hold that vision of the world we want to see created, which we know is very possible, and that the window right now is the time. Even astrologically, what's going on is this is the time. It could go either way. So the more we can stay focused on the positive instead of the negative, the more we can create that. As far as when John was talking about not liking different things, it reminded me, and it's funny because I've even said this to my cat the other day, which might sound crazy. I swear they understand everything I say. I was reminded of how I used to deal with my son. And when he would misbehave and I would really have a hard time holding back the anger, I would look at him and I'd say, I love you very much, but I don't like this behavior. I love you very much, but I don't like what you're doing or how you are right now. I will always love you, but I don't like you right now. So there is a difference. We are human. We have feelings. We cannot really like something or someone at a moment, but as long as we remember that at the core of all our beings is love, and that can't be changed. No matter how much sometimes it looks like it's hidden in someone, it's always there. So it's our job to work to see it all the time. And then, of course, when someone was talking, what came to mind, I think it might have been Shelley, was Ho'oponopono. You know, it's all, everything and everyone is in everyone. And so, and with Shelley, it was the consciousness. So my part for goodness is I try to remember, because I forget too, Shelley. I forget too sometimes, and I am only human, John, and I have my moments, trust me. But the more I can remember, especially when I walk out the door into the world, to try to be as much of the light as I can possibly be everywhere I go, and just spread that energy. That's how I do my part. And so through the difficult moments where I'm struggling, I just have to do my best to remind myself. And being on calls like this with other people, helping to remind me, helping me to feel it, helping me to know. And I know I'm not alone then, you know, and it's just very, very helpful. So thank you all from the bottom of my heart for all your help and your wisdom and guidance. Thank you.
Okay, something's bubbling up here. I feel the invitation to listen to this, to listen to this quote that I have here and there keeps constantly coming back to me. And it was a quote supposedly said by Jesus. I mean, whatever. But it's, "Beloved, in you I am well pleased. Beloved, in you I am well pleased." And it felt like inviting this collective to deepen into those waters, to understand that this is truly who we be, and that we don't cut ourselves short from that expression that's wanting to, that's been called the soul, that soul expression, that to allow that to arise, and to allow that to arise, to be an amplifier of that frequency, of that innate goodness. And that when we look into somebody else's eyes, we're not looking into that person, Nahid or Kate or Dinama or even me. We're seeing the fullness of that expression, the vibration, the frequency, the sort of that contiguous current of life that is light. And so when we take a moment and hear that and feel that, beloved in you, we're experiencing the beloved in each and every person. And for me, that's this call. It's an opportunity to let go of the identities that we are looking at and the identities that we've seen in ourselves, to recognize that beauty and to listen to the voice of that beauty arising. That's the evolutionary impulse. That's the experience with Barbara Marx Hubbard. That's been the experience that is, within that still place in each one of us. And especially in this time in 2020, this opportunity for clear vision and clearing out the old, and, which we are constantly doing no matter what, to really allow that full resurrection to happen. Because to me, that's the voice of goodness. That is, it's not about what somebody else said. It's about how that I am being infused in every moment. In this call is that opportunity, which we all know. It's why we come here, to carry that voice and frequency.
You gave words to my heart. So is when I'm hearing, we are in transition, and to get to the other side. What is happening inside of me says, we set up this game. This is the passion that wants to play. There is no other side. There is, yes, we say that the core, everything is love. And then we talk about the positive and negative. Of course, if these two were not, there would not be any continuous current as life between these two. So what is good, what is bad? The positive is good and the negative is bad? I mean, this is what the mind just keep creating. There is no good or bad. I would say that we get to that place that I am well, beloved, I am well pleased with you. That when we, being as we are doing this, keep reminding of ourselves that we are dancing the game that we said we are playing. And how would I don't know, even being neutralized or being looked at it as a positive, but seeing the whole game, that this creates the game that I said I want to play. But there wouldn't be any game. It would be stagnation in whatever. So, how aware I am of that beloved that I am pleased with, that in sorrow, sadness, agony, judgment, resentment, I hold him dear, dear into my heart, allowing that expression to experience itself.
Thank you, Nahid. What you just expressed was so beautiful because, sorry, it's Jess here in Wales. Earlier, I wanted to say something about the divine play and about duality and ego and preferences and touch on something John had said, but I didn't know how to put it into words. So I want to thank you because how you expressed it is so beautiful, and thinking of the positive and the negative as an electrical current creating the game is just such a beautiful metaphor. So when another thing that came up for me was when thinking about the things, preferences and things I don't like in the world, reminding myself that this too shall pass. This too shall pass. It's all part of the divine play and the divine game. And then anchoring back into that intentionality. I love the word intentionality because that concept of random acts of kindness, or maybe less random acts of kindness, the intentionality. And that's one way that we can cultivate goodness. And the whole idea of the golden rule, when you're in your personality or your ego thinking, well, would I like someone else to do that to me? And using that kind of as a guiding principle for goodness or kindness. But I just want to say thank you. The blessings and some of what Karen was saying just resonated really deeply as well. And just wanting to anchor back into to that, yeah, that intentionality. And thank you. I am complete.
So I just want to open and allow people who haven't shared to continue to share, and the rest of us holding that beautiful field for them to express. Thank you.
California, it's Nancy. I have my crystalline talking stick here. Wow. Wow, I don't have a lot of words today. I just have a sense of gratitude for being with you. And sometimes the busyness of my life takes me away from the center. And I know one of my I don't want to say challenges, but one of my themes in my life is how to balance the daily busyness with keeping the integrity of what I feel when I'm with you. There's a beautiful Jewish prayer that children learn when they're growing up. And I don't really know it in Hebrew, but I always say it as soon as I recognize that I am awake in the morning. And this is how I try to focus on goodness and how I can bring goodness. And this is my own translation, but it is thank you, God, for restoring my soul and allowing me to be of service today. And I just realized that, gee, lately, since the new year started, I've been forgetting, and this was just a habit. So you've all reminded me that in the morning, that first sentence, that first thought of being grateful and opening to be of service is how I focus on goodness and the good of the whole. And something that sparked me from listening to all of you today is that ease, for me, ease is a sign that I'm more in this space, more in this place of the zone, the connection, the being who I am. And I have to keep reminding myself that ease is the door to sharing my goodness. It's like, taking care of yourself before you can take care of someone. Self-care, put on the oxygen mask first. And that's what keeps coming to me this morning. And being with all of you is what fills me up and helps me connect and balance. And I'm just grateful that we're all together. It's precious. That's the word I'm coming up with. You're all precious, which to me is another way of saying the quote that Shelley mentioned from Jesus. But you're all precious, and it warms my heart, and it ripples out wherever we all go, and to places of known and unknown sources. And I'm grateful. Thank you. Pass the talking stick.
Good morning, it's Deborah. Don't have much to say, really appreciate everything said. I feel like this is the oxygen mask, this meeting here, the plane is going down, and this is the oxygen mask. And yes, my heart is just always grateful. Lately, very aware of the impermanence and thus the preciousness. And working right now personally with something about, once again, it's the letting go, it's the surrendering, such that I don't make myself so solid that I forget the oneness of the field in every situation, and even the most difficult, what can I let go of? And I guess that's what I have to offer today. Like, it's a way of remaining connected to goodness. And thank you all. I pass the talking crystal manifestation of goodness. Aho.
And this is Oriana. And Greg Braden speaks to the fluctuation. When a system goes into flux, it is at that moment the point where shift can happen, where change occurs. If a system is very stable, nothing changes. But when it goes into flux, it's at that point that true change can happen. In the Earth history, scientists always wondered what the flipping of the polarity, the North and South poles. They know that it has happened, but it never seemed to follow a regular pattern until they began to recognize the rhythm of the shifting that it was occurring was that the regularity was that the poles would go into flux, but that it didn't always flip. Depending on the flux, it may return to its point of origin, where north and south were the same alignment, rather than flipping. What makes the difference? What if we are at that point of flux and that we came in to be the point where true change can happen, the quantum leap to a future that we originate? What if we are that future, as Barbara Marx Hubbard would speak to it as, I'm from that future? That is what we know in our heart is meant to be that loving, cooperative, collaborating, where we emerge beyond this competition to feel the one heart. And that it appears to me that I had two friends visiting me from Canada that are part of my evolutionary empath group. And we went to Sedona and the Grand Canyon for the portal opening over the weekend, and then returning to the Biosphere 2 here in Tucson. Biosphere 2 is an experiment that was done in the 90s where 8 people were sealed into an environment that was the recreation of Biosphere 1, the Earth. So it was an experiment to see how living systems could support life if completely sealed off from the outside environment. And that experiment is still ongoing now at the University of Arizona, has taken it, and many scientists are coming in to see how the ocean environment that they can control and see what happens if we increase the acidity, what happens if the carbon gets too high, what happens to the coral, how can we bring it back, and the rainforest and all of the systems. And one of the things that they said that they most learned was how abundant the planet itself was in all of its systems, and that it was all free, that it took care of itself quite adequately. And that what I came away with is knowing the earth is alive, and it is the living water of the world, that is the consciousness that connects us with the universe. And so we brought this faith in Biosphere 1 being aligned with Biosphere 2, our ideal that is the future unfolding. So I invite you all that just as a race car driver knows that when approaching a tight corner, you don't focus on the wall that is turn already made, that we find that future and feel it heart first, and feel that corner that we came to turn, that future that we exist in, that we know love is, and it is for the good of the whole. And I am complete.
Thank you, Oriana. So we'll just take a big breath with that. And there's lots of juicy inspiration from this morning. So thank you all for showing up. And with that, invite you all to take yourselves off mute, and we'll just gently, very gently, just leave this call in that connection and knowing our goodness is moving us into the next phase. So with that, much love. Yum. Everybody. Much love. Thank you.